This is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos, and I'd like to talk about something which is plaguing police departments and correctional departments across the country, and that is understaffing. Why is there understaffing? Well, in police departments, there's understaffing because basically right now people don't like cops, and less people want to go into a situation where they know that they're going to be despised simply for showing up at that situation, regardless of their intent. You know, the media has portrayed this false image of all police as being racist, when the fact of the matter is race relations with police were improving up until about 2 years ago. If one were to look in 2014, there were 34 unarmed black men killed. In 2020, there were 9. So how people can say that race relations aren't improving is totally beyond my comprehension. However, that's one of the reasons why there is less police officers today. You know, there are our local department is down at least 6 or 7 officers. I know I was talking to one captain in one of the major communities in Wisconsin, and he said where they used to get 1,000 applicants, he said now they're getting maybe 100. And it's a shame. It's a shame because police work is still a noble profession, as is corrections. Now, corrections, my hat is off to anybody who's working in corrections, regardless of what state you're working in. In my patrol area, there are several people who were officers and sergeants for me when I was a captain in corrections. And the working conditions are horrible. They're working forced overtime where they'll work 2 double shifts of 16 hours, a single shift of 8 hours, and 2 double shifts, 16 hours and 8 hours. And they do that so they can just have their days off, so they don't get ordered in on their days off. But they're overworking every single staff member that they have right now. Well, part of the reason is pay. Now, Wisconsin Corrections has gone up in their pay. They start out at about $20 an hour, but you can also start out working in a milk processing plant at $22 an hour with benefits from day one. Whereas with the state, you have to work for 6 months before you get any benefits. You start out at $20 an hour, and you're dealing with people who, let's face it, society doesn't want to deal with. So what can we do to increase staffing in both police and corrections? For one thing, in corrections, give them a decent starting pay. Give them a livable pay. Give them the benefits from the start that they can have. Don't lower qualifications. That's something they've done in corrections over the last few years. You know, when I started in corrections, we didn't have physical testing, but your height and weight had to be proportional. Then they went to physical testing where a person had to run a mile in under 15 minutes. They had to do X number of sit-ups, X number of push-ups, and that had to be maintained throughout the academy. Well, then they dropped that. I think the only physical requirement they have in corrections right now is that you can bend over and fasten a pair of Velcro shoes. That's a shame because it's a distraction from the true image of a professional. You know, we like to perceive ourselves as professionals both in corrections and in police work. Well, it's hard to be perceived as a professional when you don't look professional, when you drop your standards. You know, years ago, back when God was a kid and I was going through criminal justice classes, I had to form a negative opinion on a debate, and at that time it was the Alabama State Patrol had to lower their qualifications so they could attract more minority candidates. Now, I'm not saying this is a slam against minorities, but my point was that when you lower your qualifications, you are getting a lower quality of candidate, whether it's for the state patrol, whether it's for a municipal department, whether it's for the Department of Corrections. We don't need to be lowering standards if we want to attract better people. We need to be raising standards, and we need to be raising pay. We need to raise recognition. We have to stop being so top-heavy. For crying out loud, in the state of Wisconsin, if you go into a prison, there's going to be a warden, there's going to be a deputy warden, there's going to be a security director, there's going to be a treatment director, there's going to be a social service supervisor, there's going to be a health unit supervisor. You know, when I started, there was a warden and a security director, and there was also an education director, which was a separate entity in and of itself. that's it. You didn't have deputy wardens. You didn't have unit managers. You didn't have all these levels of bureaucracy that you had to go through to work in your institution and run your institution. When I promoted up to lieutenant, it was at the prison that I promoted the lieutenant to. They only had one unit manager, and it actually worked nice because you could actually be a lieutenant. You could actually be a captain. Well, then they went to unit supervision, and basically a lieutenant and a captain was a buffer between the officer and the unit manager, who pretty much assumed control of that unit and made the decision as to whether or not somebody was going to be disciplined, and pretty much neutered a lot of the captain and the lieutenant's decisions. Now, if it came down to a particular security issue, a captain or lieutenant could override a unit manager, but sometimes there was hell to pay when you did that. So one of the things we need to stop doing is stop being so top heavy. We need to focus on the people that are working the line, focus on the people that are doing the job, recognize the job that they're doing, recognize the situations that they're dealing with, and recognize that micromanagement is destroying a lot of careers and it destroys a lot of morale. So is there a solution to understaffing? I'm sure there is. I don't know exactly what it is. A few suggestions: raise pay, raise qualifications, and raise recognition. Recognize police officers and correctional officers that the professionals that they truly are. Until next time, this is Keith Hellwig from Cops Corrections Videos. Stay safe and watch your back.